The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to another edition of K4Wins. I am Tony Kurre. Been doing radio for about 40 years, 25 years in the sports business, did some ESPN stuff. A guy who's been doing sports for a long time, Keeper right below me, of course, executive director of the Birmingham Racecourse and Casino, knows nothing about handicapping, does fantastic work. We've got Kai Gregory down the bottom left-hand corner. He has also been a handicapper on both sides of it now for nearly 4 decades. And Case Keeper, live from Las Vegas Sun, chief editor, gets after every single week right here at K4Wins. Our show airs right here, of course, on SR 1029 The Game. .com, but also, of course, on the Coastal Digital Network and also, more importantly, on the Tony Kurre Radio Network, where you can hear us live on Tony Kurre Radio, not to mention on our YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is K4Wins every single Tuesday and Friday mornings at 10 o'clock Central Time. We're getting ready for week 3. We got some wild games going on, top 3 matchups. Actually, 23 of those top 25 matchups are coming up. We have some smelly fishes going on. And I, Tony Kurre, have a 24.5-point dog winner this week, straight out. We're going to find out what that's worth on a money line, but I've got one game, and I'm going to put my ass in the line. I looked at this game, and Kip and I did a show yesterday. We could not wait to do the show today to start talking about college football. Right, okay, Kip? We've already come up with several plays, but I see one game. It includes some big-time team that I believe is going to go down to a 24-point dog this weekend. First of all, how you guys doing? Everyone's doing well?
Oh, man, it's living the dream.
Fantastic. Kip, I know you already had a couple plays that you threw up yesterday, so we'll get into some of those plays this weekend. And, of course, Case, always a pivotal time because we brought you up numerous times. We talked about Cal yesterday, too. Numerous times because you always mention the first thing you do now on a Sunday is you're looking at the college lines because so much changes between, say, Sunday night and even Tuesday morning.
Yeah, definitely. It's been easier to be in position when the lines start posting. I will say for this week, for week 3, there wasn't like last week. There was a whole lot that jumped out right away. I don't think I actually ended up doing good on those plays. I crushed the closing number, got huge closing line value, but mostly lost on those. This week, they're just my immediate numbers, which don't have as much put into them, is just kind of honestly off the top of my dome. I go through every game on Saturday nights. Try to get a sense of what happened in every FBS game and just put on like a preliminary number basically off the top of my head to try to fire on these openers. And man, they were really close this week. There was not a whole lot that jumped off the page. Once I did more work yesterday, bet some more things. I'm sure you guys aren't surprised. So I still have a pretty decent card at this point. But yeah, I thought the lines were pretty tight for week 3. Not a whole lot of major discrepancies. So not as much looking forward to this college football week, but you never know, things can change.
Lots of pro stuff going on. Of course, your Las Vegas Raiders look fantastic this past weekend. We'll get to some pros action on the backside of the show. I do want to ask you one question because I don't know a gambler that's ever done this. You play a line early. You love it. You love it. You love it. Maybe you've seen it out weeks in advance. I don't care what the line is. I'm playing this game because I love it. I love it. I love it. And then you have a change of mind right before kickoff or a couple of days before kickoff. Do you change that bet? Do you hedge your own bet or do you just let it go?
I don't want to say never, but very rarely. I'd be say like 99.5% of times I'm not going to change it. There are cases where I'll buy off, but almost always it's because of injury if I'm straight buying off. And the other reason where I will and maybe shoot for a middle in a single game is if it goes across a key number. So I'm trying to think of a good example. Like a game that I talked about this last week that I had my eyes on ever dating back to the offseason. The number didn't come in as high as I want, so I didn't fire as much on it. But I loved Mississippi State's spot against Arizona State last week. I got a little 7.5, not much. But that moved so far at one point. I think it got to 4.5 and then went a little bit back up. I probably wouldn't have done this, but maybe if it got to like Arizona State minus 2.5, maybe I would have fired back on Arizona State. That's just a gigantic. I mean, you get the 3 and the 7. That never happened. I just rolled with the Mississippi State. But if there's a chance where you can capture like the 2 key numbers, especially, that's really the only scenario where I think I'd buy back a little.
Kyle, we had a pretty good Saturday. What do you got?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The only thing I can see because I just looked through them real quick, 24.5 points. Only thing I can see is maybe Eastern Michigan that you think is going to beat Kentucky. Good
Wyoming or Wyoming, maybe.
No, Wyoming's not going to win that game.
And Eastern Michigan isn't either. They lost to Long Island last week.
Exactly. So I was just looking, going, wait, 24.5. But I just pulled the numbers again a second ago. But yeah, Saturday we were 12-3, and if I had done what you guys wanted me to do, but I didn't do, we would have ended up 16-4 because we had done so well during the day. I didn't post some late games. We were supposed to post UNLV, and we didn't post it. We were supposed to post Mississippi State, and we didn't post it just because we were 12-3 before the 6:30 games, kicked off. It was like, ugh. So, we hit Iowa State money line, Illinois money line, UAB plus 21, the UAB halftime team total over, UAB Navy over in the first half. A lot of UAB here. UAB over team total 19.5 was a triple play. That game actually got down to 17.5. Tony and I were texting back and forth before the game. That line dropped 2 points. I think we might have been the only, service or the only people in America that liked UAB to score over their team total. We had Baylor plus 3. We had Oregon minus 28. Oregon over their team total. Alabama minus 21 first half. We lost on something I posted. The other 3 gentlemen were against me. I posted freaking Clemson. They suck. I'm just going to say it out loud. Troy is awful, and Clemson came back to beat them. Lost on Clemson team total over their first half in Virginia Tech. We ended up 26-12 first week of September.
Fantastic.
We are now 759 and 403 on the year, so 65%. 26-12, not a bad first week of September.
Regardless of where you're listening to, you are going to hear a lot of UAB because I'm the UAB guy. I didn't play ball there. I did a radio show with an Alabama guy and an Auburn guy, so someone had to take UAB, and so I kind of entrenched. I know their program really, really well. I did post the over in that particular game. I know you went crazy and all the other totals. So nice work, Kai, for taking that and dissecting to the point where we had like 3 or 4 different plays on UAB. I will say this: I do like UAB over the 53.5 again this weekend, despite the fact they're playing Akron, who has put a goose egg up so far this year. They have been outscored 78-0 by Nebraska and Wyoming. Akron will put up 14 points against this UAB defense this weekend. So if UAB can put up a 30 spot, it's going to fly over the post again. I got to go, and Kip and I were talking about this yesterday. I got to go straight to Kip because this Georgia Tech, I'm having lunch with my son yesterday before he heads back to Clemson. He skipped school yesterday. And I said, I'm catching all kinds of crap from the guys on this Georgia Tech line because several weeks ago, Kip was like, you better look out, Clemson, out for that Georgia Tech game. I was like, come on, Kip. I mean, come on. We're talking about Georgia Tech, the Rambling Wreck. Give me a fucking break, man. I said, this is Clemson. They're preseason number 4. They got every back. I mean, you got the Heisman Trophy winner. It's Dabo Ball. He's doing it right. No transfers. And you're telling me, he goes, Dad, I can see them losing to Georgia Tech on the road. And I was like, I'm going to get creamed on the show. But I tell you what, you want to talk about smelly fish. It is sitting at 3.5 this morning. A team that everyone thinks should be in the playoffs. A team that thinks, well, at least I do. You have 12 shots, right? That thinks that they're going to win the ACC and it's going to be no one else. Now, FSU may have something to say about that. And they're only giving up 3.5 at Georgia Tech. Explain, please.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain from a logical perspective, but just looking at the schedule and just looking at Clemson in the last few years with kind of challenging ACC road games, they have not excelled on the road. A lot of teams are Alabama right now. Everybody is just euphoric after a 73-0 win at home. The problem with Alabama has not been at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The problem since even the last 2 years of the Saban administration has been this team has not performed well in any kind of high-pressure road game. And Clemson has kind of got that label in my mind. I can think of recent ventures to Syracuse and some other spots, Boston College, in games that I think they ended up winning the Boston College game last year, but they were a double-digit favorite and they won on a late field goal. They just don't play that well away from Clemson right now. And Georgia Tech is kind of a team that was flying a little under the radar. I think Brent Key has made really big strides there. They play physically. They've got a quarterback in his 15th year in college football in Haynes King. I think he beat Alabama, or he didn't actually beat him. That was Calzada, the Kentucky quarterback. But Haynes King had just been playing with that Texas A&M team. That seems like 10 years ago. So he's still active and still a force. They won a nice road game at Colorado to open the season. I just think Tech at home, and Kai's always said, and this is at home at Clemson, but it's an 11 o'clock game. It's just a dangerous spot for a road team. I think they're playing that game at Mercedes-Benz too to increase capacity. And it's just 2.5 miles from Tech Stadium on the other end of North Avenue. But there's just a lot of things in the cards there that look to me like it's an upset alert game. And I will say this too. Last week I was traveling on Friday when you guys convened, so I missed the show. I just wrote in my picks and hoped that some of those would do well. And maybe that needs to be the procedure every week, because I went 5-1 on college football and 2-1 on my 3 NFL picks. So one of the best weeks I've had when I didn't come on the show.
There you go. By the way, ESPN has Georgia Tech 56.4% chance of winning that football game. So I mean, that's
No kidding. That's crazy.
that is now ESPN is. I mean, it's ESPN, right? But
I
when you're talking about catching three, where do you have this line, Case?
Oh, I was pretty. I mean, if you average kind of my first reaction I did, I still have Clemson about a 3-point favorite. Which, by the way, biggest sports book in the world. I prefer Circa for college football. Just 'cause I think they take more college football action. But Bookmaker in Costa Rica takes the most action on sports in the world. They just moved to 3. Flat 3 on Clemson, a Clemson 3-point favorite. Averaging my 2 numbers, I came out right at 3. I actually, if you don't adjust for priors much, what we thought coming into the season, I actually agree with ESPN. I had Georgia Tech a 1-point favorite here. That's just based on this season. I'm a big priors guy. I think you have to bake in some of what we thought coming into the season. So it does seem like a good spot for Clemson. Luckily, this is one of the only games I bet right away. I didn't think it was going to age this well, or else I would have bet a lot more, just a standard bet. But I do have some Georgia Tech plus 6.5. And I do remember that argument. The one thing I said is it's not like Clemson's going to be a touchdown favorite in that game, and clearly
No,
they're
Right.
They're like a field goal.
I think preseason, weren't they like 8, Tony, preseason?
Yeah, preseason. And by the way, and again, we look at these games, and I'm watching them down 16-0 Clemson to Troy, and of course I'm sitting there saying, just hold on. That's why we play 60 minutes in the ball game. It'll be fine. They didn't have 3 of their starters, including, of course, their top wide receiver in Williams. He was not in. 3 other starters didn't play for the Clemson Tigers. They didn't even start for that game. And Georgia Tech is 2-0 straight up, and 2-8 against the spread. They play Gardner Webb in Colorado. So for what it is, but Clemson has not covered 5 of their last 6 FBS games. They're not playing well against FBS squads. I don't know what it is. And again, this game on the road, who knows? But we'll see what happens. That's why we're going to play the game. Other huge games I want to get into with you guys. And I've been so excited because we got 3 top 25 matchups, including Georgia, Tennessee. Kai, I want to go right there. You're the Tennessee man. Georgia's knocked off Tennessee 8 straight. And another potential smelly fish, if you're a person who's just not really watching college football a lot, and you're going, wait a minute, isn't Georgia really, really good? They're only giving up 3.5 at Neyland Stadium. What's going on? Where do you see this game?
I had my alerts ringing like crazy yesterday, and as soon as it dropped at 3, it was on 3 for about a minute yesterday, and I jumped on Georgia hard. Tennessee may be missing 5 starters on defense for sure. Drive McCoy and Gibson are definitely out. 2 starting corners going to be starting.
Wow.
Going to be bringing in Colton Hood, who has done very well, transfer from Colorado, and then a freshman, Ty Redmond, is going to be starting. But they could be missing on the defensive line Moy, Hobbs, and Weatherly. If all those guys are out, that's just something to really have to overcome. David Sanders is probably going to get his first start back on the O-line for Tennessee. It's just Georgia has absolutely owned Tennessee for the last 8 years. I think 16 was the miracle year with Hobbs, Bootnail, on the Hail Mary at the end of the game. And everybody's like, oh, that was a miracle for Tennessee. Well, the miracle was the play even a minute before it when Georgia scored, when Tennessee's defensive back fell down on a 4th down. It's probably the best game Tennessee's played against. Georgia's beat them by 14 points minimum the last 8 games. They're in Neyland. They're going to checkerboard Neyland. Maybe Aguilar has done, pretty well so far. Gunnar Stockton has not been great. I think Georgia put up 4 touchdowns against an FCS opponent last week, not playing great. Guess what? Georgia, generally speaking, slow start to the season. Tennessee does get them early in the year, for the first time in a long time. Generally, this is more like the 6th, 7th, 8th game. But if I'm either hammering Georgia, which I think it started at 6.5, and Tennessee money just came flooding in, and now that it's back to 3.5, and that's the only way I would play the game is Georgia. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Tennessee wins, but I just don't see it. And maybe I'm just a negaball, but I don't see it.
Well, you are for sure, but we hope to see it the other way. And maybe Tennessee's looking ahead because they do have the Blazers the next week
Oh,
up
yeah,
at
I'm
Neyland
sure.
Stadium, which
That'll be
is
that'll
going
be another
to
six. That'll be another 70-point game.
we may be burning a bonfire outside Protective Stadium for Trent Dilfer when he comes back from that game. What line did you have on the Georgia Tennessee game? Because I love this because I mean these lines of me to surprise me and you're like, yeah, it's about right, and it's just amazing to me every time because you always nail it.
Yeah, I actually had took a similar approach to Kai, except the opposite way. The first number I saw out here was Georgia 7.5, and I was like, God, that's high. But I didn't bet it right away. I put question mark Tennessee plus 7.5. I came back Sunday night and I was like, oh my God, this is crashing like crazy. There's 1 4.5 left. I made it 3.5, so I was like, I just got to grab the 4.5. So I bet Tennessee plus 4.5. Hopefully, we're in between the 3 and the 4. Maybe I still follow a lot of Georgia people and read the things, and I just Tennessee might have injuries, but it sounds like the Georgia offensive line is just a complete disaster. They already had
They're
two guys
hurt.
hurt, lost another guy against Austin P. They played 7 different guys and don't seem to have the right combination. Now, there's always the possibility that Kurre's playing possum and kind of knows his 5. He knew they could beat Austin P and Marshall with their linebackers at offensive line probably. So that's a possibility. But man, I just think in the trenches, this seems like a big plus matchup for Tennessee. I think Tennessee's defensive lines is so heralded. I could really see them wreaking havoc. And I hate to bang the same point every week, but just until I see it, I'm not a Gunnar Stockton guy. So I made it 3.5. I would not bet it now, but I feel pretty good with the Tennessee plus 4.5. Certainly, we reached the point of resistance, like Kai said. As I think it only hit 3 at one sports book here. I didn't even see it. I heard someone else talking about it. I clicked it. It stayed there for like a minute. So someone was waiting to unload on Georgia at 3. So I think clearly 3.5 is probably the right number.
And it was Kai. We just found out.
There you go. Kai was there first the line. There you go. You're moving the lines to Las Vegas, Kai. Good job. Is it a possibility that Notre Dame starts 0-2, Kip?
I said it preseason. When we were talking about teams that might be potential busts, I said I did not expect them to win at Miami and to come back. I mean, they did have a week off, which a bye after one game. That's interesting. But Texas A&M, I still think is a team that's being underemphasized. They have a lot of people back from the team last year that got off to a great start. They faded down the stretch, but I thought this was a dangerous team. And so far, if you look at the SEC's performance, they went 14-1 last week. They're 28-3 against the other conferences, and in the power conferences, they're leading everybody. I think their record right now is it's either 9-3 or 9-4. Texas, of course, and Alabama, the exceptions on opening week. But so Texas A&M coming into Notre Dame, there's a lot of pressure on the Irish here after losing that first game to Miami. And I said I thought it was perfectly feasible to expect that Notre Dame trying to break in this new quarterback. And I don't know what you guys thought about C.J. Carr at Miami. I thought he was okay. Doesn't look like he's quite ready for prime time yet. One of their touchdowns, he ran around for a half an hour and Miami chased him fruitlessly and he kind of threw it up for grabs for a touchdown. But, maybe that's a little bit of a harsh assessment. They did come back in that game, hit a couple big plays. The Miami defense, food for thought, filed this away. All of the hoopla we got that Miami's defense is going to be much improved. When the game was on the line at the end, they didn't put it away. Notre Dame managed to come back and tie that game. I think there's question marks about both those teams moving forward, but I'm not going to be a bit surprised if the Aggies go into Notre Dame and take down the Irish. I think this is a toss-up matchup.
It's a brutal spot for obviously Notre Dame, and I always have I know I hate that bye week happens so early in the season because you're normally not banged up by then. You like to have that 6 weeks, 7 weeks into the season. All of a sudden, you can be starting 0-2. What line did you have on this case?
I made it 5.5, and it got to 7.5 yesterday. So I hate always acting like I have the best number. I bet some Texas A&M plus 7. I don't love it. I actually was really I was enthused with how CJ Carr played in that Miami game, especially in camp. You just heard about how bad he was. I thought he was going to be a disaster. I mean, he brought them back. I could be wrong about all this, but I guess I interpreted that game a little bit differently than Kip. I was very impressed by Miami's defense. I mean, with the game on the line, they just destroyed the Notre Dame offense. They had 3 sacks in the final 2.
Yeah, the last possession,
yeah.
when they got the field goal.
So the one thing, roster quality. I know you guys were higher on Texas A&M than me coming into the season. I've kind of come around. I see the vision. I actually think I would take CJ Carr over Marcel Reed. So quarterback's the one position that scares me. I'm not a Marcel Reed guy. I mean, if you put I don't know, name your quarterback at Texas A&M, I might take them even more seriously. I just thought 7 was too high. I feel like, what was this game last year, like 14-10 or something?
Really tight and low scoring.
I just feel like it's going to be really tight again. I think Notre Dame should be the clear favorite, but I just the full 7 is big to me. There's been a lot of interest in Notre Dame. Maybe it's partly coming off of that bye week. Like I said, I wish I would have waited for the 7.5, but I just think in a low scoring game like this with 2 teams I think highly of, I don't think one team should be an underdog of a full touchdown.
Thanks to Joey Beaver chiming in. Thank you for loving the show. We're on every single Tuesday and Friday at 10 o'clock Central right here on the Coastal Digital Sports Network and on Tony Curry Radio. The TKR app is available. Over 100,000 folks already popped on that bad boy. Kai, your thoughts on this particular ball game here? Notre Dame giving up 6.5. Obviously, that pivotal number. They're 0-1. A&M unscathed at 2-0 so far in the season. It's early.
I'm interested to see what the Notre Dame rushing attack does. I really think it's going to be, just like they said, a low-scoring game. I do think Notre Dame can pound Texas A&M with the run. If it comes down to the quarterbacks throwing, I agree. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, but I really don't think it's going to come down to a passing attack. I think it's going to be a low-scoring running game. There, and it's funny when you talk about these and look at some of these, and I bet nobody gets this Tony Curry useless fact. It's not really a Tony Curry useless fact. Preseason Heisman Trophy favorites in quarterback. Who's the highest ranked? Don't you be looking at your computer, Case. Who's the highest ranked preseason? Let's just say top 10 quarterbacks for the Heisman. Who's the highest ranked one right now?
In the odds?
Yes.
Oh,
no.
John.
As far as in their stats.
Oh, well, Mateer is the favorite now, so I hope you listened to me and took him 25-1 a few weeks ago. I don't know if he should be the favorite, but that's aged well. Statistically, I mean, I have no. I'm trying to think of someone who's played 2 terrible teams. That's probably it, right?
He hasn't played 2 terrible teams, but Carson Beck is 49th in yardage, and he is the highest of the top 5 preseason picks. Number 1 right now, quarterback is Maverick McElvore from Western Kentucky, although he has played 3 games. Number 1 running back is Robert Henry from Tony's UTSA team that he has been high on. And number 1 wide receiver that took down UCLA. What did they spend $2 million on Nico for? Number 1 wide receiver, Jaden Bradley out of UNLV.
How about those Rebels?
Well, they played 3 games. The 3 games a little unfair.
Yeah.
Another team that's having a fantastic season and doing it at the behest of top 25 teams from coast to coast. And now they're going down to Miami, taking on that giving up 16.5. South Florida Bulls. Any shot they can knock off another top 25 team catching 16.5? That always, you look at what they've done so far, and it's kind of like, why wouldn't I want to take 17 on that case?
I'm super high on Miami. I think Miami's way better than Florida based on what I've seen, and this is the same number you were getting against Florida last week. I didn't bet this game. I actually made it about the same, but, is this not the spot of all spots? Miami coming off Bethune-Cookman, where most of their starters had to play a quarter, got rest. South Florida's played the toughest schedule in the nation through 2 weeks. It's absolutely unbelievable what they've done. I wrote about it. I led my column in the Sun today talking about how their playoff odds have gone from 50-1 to plus 450. They're now the group of 5 favorite. I just look at this as a terrible spot. There's no way. I'm probably not going to make a bet on the game regardless unless it goes back down. But if you made me make a bet, I would have to be on Miami. I've said it time and time again with Miami. But my one question about the team, the one thing I was worried about or the receivers. And you saw that week one that the freshman they got, Malachi Tony, looks like the best receiver in the nation. CJ Daniels had an OJ Beckham catch. I feel like all the pieces are in place for Miami except for coach. You almost saw Kip called out the defense. I think it was Mario Cristobal that almost blew that game. He was like setting up for a 50-yard field goal with 3 minutes.
Oh, he's so bad.
The guy just makes me scratch my head so much with his in-game decisions. But so yeah, I sound like the South Florida hater here, but I would be really shocked if they beat Miami this week.
Guy, you've been on the Bulls all season long. Is it time to jump off?
No, I already played them plus 17.5. Just my opinion. Their resume, their first 2 games, is the best resume in the country, in my opinion.
It is.
25 team. I love their corners against Miami's wide receivers. South Florida plays very good defense. We got 18 points last week, but I guarantee you, if you're Billy Napier, you thought if we hold them to 18, we've got a chance to win. I thought Billy Napier put himself back on the hot seat with his atrocious play calling, and then to come out after there's no chance he's going to give up play calling. Well, every single opponent on his schedule went, yes, thank you. Every coach is very happy. Every defensive coordinator. I mean, Miami may roll. Don't get me wrong. I have been impressed with Miami and what they did in week 1. Week 2, I did not pay any attention because, like you said, it was Bethune-Cookman. But I just think South Florida's defense keeps them in every game. And what scares me the most is that if Napier gets fired, is that Florida may go after Alex Golesh.
Mm-hmm.
This is funny too because Billy Napier, we've been kind of waiting. I remember we had Tim Brando on our show. Was it last year or the year before, Kip, on the starting lineup, and we were asking him out of all the proteges of Nick Saban, which one do you believe will win a national title first? And it was Billy Napier, and so far he has not gotten that done. But now with South Florida showing up a little bit. It's Tim Brando. I mean, he's stepping out a little bit for sure, which is what we'd love to have him do.
We've arrived. I got to brag a little bit. 2 years ago, my partner on our radio shows locally here dubbed Billy Napier Sunbelt Billy when he was off to such a bad start at Florida. Yesterday, I'm watching Paul Feinbaum and goes, there's a reason he's called Sunbelt Billy. So the morning after is now producing material for Paul Feinbaum's national show.
There you go. There you have it. Another game that I think is really interesting too, and since we were talking about Billy Napier, let's put them on the road and go against Brian Kelly's LSU Bayou Bengal Tigers, giving up the 9 and the hook. What do you think there, Kip?
Well, I thought it was interesting on that same Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. Brian Kelly comes on every Monday, which is fairly interesting. But he's pretty forthcoming. He said, "Yeah, we didn't play well against Louisiana Tech, but these guys know who they're playing, and you can't expect them to be up every." It was very non-coach speak. He was just kind of admitting, "Yeah, we didn't take them as seriously as we should have," and I need to see more fire every time we take the field. I thought that was interesting. That was the classic sandwich game. And it's one of the reasons that I didn't put in my 6 selections that I gave you guys an absentia last week. I was intrigued with Louisiana Tech getting big points. I thought a lot of those teams last week getting big points. I thought most of the dogs against the top 25 would cover, and I haven't broken it down, but I think probably the large percentage of them did because, this NIL area, I think a lot of these teams like Louisiana Tech, some of these middling teams, I think they have more, bona fide players now than maybe they did before because guys just want to go, a 3-star that lands at a big school and is 3rd or 4th on string on the depth chart. I mean, I think a lot of those guys are on the move now because they want to just go someplace and play. So I think the days of teams covering these 45 and 42.5 point spreads probably is kind of yesterday's news. But I was not shocked that LSU kind of went through the motions. The big win at Clemson, and with Florida coming in next week, it was a game that figured. And for Louisiana Tech to get a shot at LSU, an in-state the team, that was the Super Bowl for those kids. So not surprising. I'm going to give LSU a little bit of a pass for being sleepwalking last week. Florida going in there now, all the pressure in the world. Interesting question for you guys, and I know you guys are more numbers oriented, but I'm still kind of a old school looking at trends and current patterns. But was it good for LSU or bad for LSU that Florida gets punched in the mouth at home in a game they almost had to win, with their next 4 games being at LSU, next week at Miami, then back home against Texas, and then right back on the road at Texas A&M? That's a serious 4 games run here, and you could see it on Billy Napier's face at the press conference yesterday when he was saying how they're going to regroup and they're going to do that, do this and that. But was it a good thing for LSU that Florida lost that game, or is Florida going to be deflated now going into LSU? I'm having trouble kind of wrapping my arms around which way it's going to be, because on paper you certainly think LSU is going to be very formidable. And I forgot, Tony, what you told me the line on that game was. I haven't really had a chance to scrutinize the lines like I want to. Planning on doing that
About
overnight.
16 and a half. Let me chime in real quick, because I know you guys are going to say something.
Yeah, yeah, please.
I don't think it's ever good to get smacked in the face. I don't think it's ever good to get punched in the face against anybody. I think a lot of people had South Florida in this game against Florida, which was amazing enough. And with that being said, I mean, if you're looking for a game to make you right, so you can play the football that you're potentially supposed to play, you got issues. That's all I'll say. Case, what do you get?
If I'm LSU, I would have much rather them squeak out and win this, especially
Yeah, I
because,
thought so.
I mean, I think I underestimated South Florida a little bit. Clearly, they're a good team. I guess the one difference I have with you is I don't really feel like they. Well, I mean, because they were an 18-point under favorite, of course they got punched in the mouth. But really, like the underlying statistics of the game, Florida was still probably the better team. They had the spitting incident, and I think Billy Napier really is probably not even taking enough of a hit as much as I mean. You have the top quarterback recruit in the nation, like your all world, the guy who saved your job. You have the best Florida roster there's been in 5 years. They keep getting in these 4th and 2s and 4th and 3s and punting. You're playing against South Florida. I think just a little bit more aggressiveness from Billy Napier, they win that game. I think without the spitting, they might win that game. There were so many little tiny things that I think cost them. And to me, that's the type of thing in a week going into this big game. You're going to be super on them. They'll probably tighten up going into this game. That being said, I don't have any interest in betting Florida. I actually bet LSU. I kind of timed it poorly, but I saw a lot of LSU money come in right away. I was worried it was going to get to 10, so I laid LSU minus 9.5, which is a pretty bad number now. We're back to 8.5. I could see this being cagey and close, but I'd be pretty surprised if Florida won. But I think for LSU's sake, you much rather just hope they squeak out that game and maybe some of those problems go unaddressed. Because unless they're just totally out on Napier and checked out, which I think is probably unlikely when they haven't played an SEC game yet. It's only week 3. I do got to think they'll be a little bit sharper this week in Death Valley.
K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com, on X at K4Winners, also K4Winners.com. You can check us on our website, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. If you want to drop us an email, well, you can do that right there. Since we're just about 45 minutes away from the homeland of T-Town, I do have to throw out that Wisconsin-Alabama game. Bama giving up 3 touchdowns. Kai, did we get it right being up 73-0 against Law? I know a lot of people are like, well, it's the same team that beat Nick Saban. And if everyone wants to make comparisons, blah, 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 blah. Hey, come on, man.
18 years ago.
18 years ago. I mean, it was Law Monroe. I get it, but it's like, for God's sakes, this was a game that obviously that will suffice for Alabama fans, but it was Law Monroe, and now it's time to get serious again as you go to the Big Ten and take on Wisconsin. This ain't the same Wisconsin we had 4 or 5 years ago, but comfortably a win for Alabama, you expect?
You know, Wisconsin's number 3 in yards allowed right now, giving up 179 yards a game. Granted, they probably played, 2 sisters of the poor. But, I will say real quickly on Florida LSU, poor old Florida. Poor old Florida. But is this not the perfect Brian Kelly coaching screw-up right here that we're getting set up for? All I'm going to say. 21 may be too many, and Alabama's either going to win by 50 or they're going to win by 14. Maybe they got back on track, but Wisconsin's defenses look good. I don't think Wisconsin's going to score that much. I still don't think Alabama is straight yet. I really don't. It's a game that I'm not even going to look at because at the same time, that's an 11 o'clock game, right? I'm going to be more keyed on seeing what Oregon can do at Northwestern as a 28-point favorite playing at 9 o'clock their time in the morning.
Yep.
That game's going to interest me more because Oregon is on freaking fire right now.
If you watch the starting lineup, 10:30, 11 o'clock here locally in Birmingham, you can also watch on the YouTube channel anywhere in the country. It is called the Starting Lineup YouTube channel. Check us out because we are on first before that Alabama-Wisconsin kickoff at 11 o'clock on the big show of ABC games and the SEC. Kip, what's your thoughts? Are we going to slide it in and slide into a big fat winner for the Alabama Crimson Tide this Saturday?
Everything just went so perfectly against poor Louisiana Monroe. I don't have much respect for Wisconsin. I have these visions of talking about Alabama being bad on the road, where they weren't bad in Madison last year, but Wisconsin was horrible. Alabama just steamrolled them up there last year. So I think the talent mismatch is still going to be apparent. 21's tough number to cough up, but I suspect that Alabama will probably, even with their second and third units, pile on some more. So if I had to bet the game, I would say Alabama covers, but it's not going to be 73-0. I think Wisconsin will hang around a little bit, but at the end of the day, I can see a 41-17 kind of game.
Case, what does Vegas say?
Well, I just see right now at FanDuel, I called up the game. It just went to 21.5, which makes me angry because I kind of hate it. But I bet Wisconsin plus 21. I came out like 18.5 on this game. I don't think they have much of a chance to win. And I actually I wouldn't go too overboard, like Kip told me the callers on his show were after they blew out Monroe. But I actually was pretty impressed by that. I mean, this isn't the UL Monroe that's been like one of the 10 worst teams in the nation for the last like 15 years. I think they were pretty impressive under their new coach Brian Vincent last year. I mean, I don't know, that got my eyes popping. They looked much better. It was more the Alabama team I was expecting. I like that Wisconsin is really trying to change their identity. I don't think it's going to work. I think Luke Fickell probably gets fired by the end of this year. But going up against a game where you're a huge underdog, I just think it made no sense when they're like last year. They're trying to implement the air raid, play with pace. You don't want more plays when you're at a huge talent disadvantage. This year, they're back to running down the play clock, slamming the ball into the line. I still have questions about Alabama's rush defense for I think anyone that watched any bit of the Week 1 game is. So I think they could kind of turn this into an ugly affair. And I just want to see more out of Ty Simpson before I am laying this big of a spread with him. So very slight lean to Wisconsin, especially at that 21.5 now. I wish I had that.
Couple of the games, UTEP at Texas. Smart's giving up 41.5. That game looks like a blowout. We've got Oklahoma Temple. Oklahoma giving up 23.5. Auburn giving up 25.5 to South Alabama. They look good against Ball State, although it went under and they didn't cover the 42. And also Vandy against South Carolina. South Carolina giving up 5.5. That's one of those teams I've got going to the playoffs, and every victory obviously is crucial for this point.
And in week 3, Tony, the interesting thing about that, South Carolina and Vanderbilt have played a common opponent. They both played Virginia Tech, and Vanderbilt much more impressive in their win than South Carolina was.
There is no doubt. Yeah, the last 15 minutes of that ball game, they look fantastic. We're going to get into some pro stuff coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, some Major League Baseball here before the top of the hour. Before we get our show, we do an hour. Case, give me one or two other games that just kind of popped off the board to you in college football, and then we'll move on to the National Football League. What a great first day we had yesterday.
Yeah, seems like everything I'm saying is, I don't want to do this, but the South Carolina Vanderbilt line movement has been crazy. I think maybe people are looking at that common opponent a little too much, in my opinion. South Carolina opened like an 8.5 point favorite here. They're now down to 5.5. I mean, they just crushed Vanderbilt last year. I know I've been beating the drum that this is the same South Carolina team. I'm going to take one more swing at Vanderbilt, and if I'm wrong, I will tip my hat to Diego Pavia forever. Actually, I did really well on them last year. I was pretty high on them. I feel like they're a little overvalued this year. I can't see this getting under a touchdown, so I laid it with South Carolina minus 5.5. This one's moved, but hey, my favorite team, one of my biggest bets last week. I thought you guys thought I was crazy. I was on UAB against Navy. I think Akron's just so pathetic. I laid 9 with UAB at open. I think it's like 11.5 now.
It's 11.5 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think it should be like 17. UAB's offense is pretty good.
They will not be favored by 11.5 over anyone else this year. This will be their biggest line.
Yeah, so you could take it that way. This was not as I made a really big bet on them against Navy. I explained why I liked it last week. So this was just a smaller bet, but I did take UAB. Another one in that same vein. I just think the market has problems pricing these teams that are just truly horrendous. And I think the worst Power 5 team taking the mantle, I said it time and time again for Purdue last year. This year it's Stanford without a doubt. Stanford is just dreadful. I laid 10.5 with Boston College. I think that's moved up too. I know at Stanford, kind of a tough trip, but I would not be surprised if I haven't looked at their schedule, but Stanford looks like a winless team to me. They're just completely bottoming out. Their quarterback, it looks like he should be playing in D2, Ben Cole-Branson, who he was okay at Oregon State, but man, I think very low of this Stanford team. So there's two trying to pick on teams that I think are terrible: Stanford and Akron.
Kip, we were doing the Kiefer Curry show yesterday. We couldn't wait till today to talk some college football. We had a great show yesterday. You can find that wherever you get your TKR app. And, of course, it's Kiefer and Curry show. And you were all over A&M early. And you also like that Ole Miss squad giving up 9.5 against Arkansas. Tell me why.
Well, Ole Miss, got it done on the road at Lexington. I actually picked Kentucky last week plus 10.5. When you guys know how much I'm a big fan of Mark Stoops, who I think is just a horrendous coach. I mean, let me qualify that. I mean, I guess for Kentucky he is okay, but his SEC record after last week just went to 28-64, and I guess it's not Stoops personally that I dislike. It's the fact that he has the label of doing a great job at Kentucky, which just makes me just shake my head every time. But with all that being said, Ole Miss wins an SEC road game, not impressively. I guess Stoops actually kicked a field goal to beat the spread in the last minute of the game. I think they tried an onside kick, so I guess strategy was.
Which Kiffin brought up after the game.
He did. It was the first thing he said. He apologized. So, but anyway, they're back home. Arkansas has beaten Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State. So I think this line is way too low. I think Ole Miss will unleash all the furor on the Razorbacks. Sam Pittman maybe a little more secure because he beat the two cupcakes to open the season. But I think this game's going to be a blowout. I think Ole Miss wins by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
We kind of liked Arkansas in that game only because Arkansas State asked Arkansas for a home at home. Yeah. He's like, we've never fucking played you guys. We've never played you ever. It's the longest time that two teams in the same state have never played each other. Now you're asking for a home and home. He's like, no.
Case and I have both been to Jonesboro. I don't see any Division I team ever aspiring to go there. That's worse than Starkville.
Kai, what else is jumping out to you before we jump in the NFL?
Well, like I talked about earlier, I like Oregon and Texas Tech in those games. I think they're large lines. And even though Wyoming's the number 3 defensive team in the country in points allowed at 3.5 points a game, it's Oregon, and I think Oregon is looking to prove a point. I think Dan Lanning will score as many points as he wants to. But I got a question for you real quick. All right. 3 of the top 5 total yardage leaders are in the SEC after 2 weeks. But do you know who number 1 is in most total yards? Offense, most total yards team.
It's got to be someone who's played crap the first couple of games.
Arkansas?
Played 3 times.
Yeah.
Arkansas is actually number 4 at 591 yards a game.
Okay. Missouri, maybe?
USC is number 1 at 676 yards per game.
Holy
Tennessee
cow.
is number 2 at 605 yards a game. Texas Tech 3 at 604. Arkansas, like I said, 4th at 591. And Missouri, who just, I'm sorry, Case, hammered Kansas, late, 577 yards a game.
There you go. Let's get into some National Football League. I heard a stat, and we'll throw it at you. A little trivia here. There are only 3 football players who have won 13 games for 2 different franchises. Who are they? Quarterbacks.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre's not one of them.
They didn't win 13.
Three quarterbacks have won 13 games with two different teams, and I will tell you that one guy's still playing. The other two just played
Yeah,
less.
it's got Aaron.
Peyton
Aaron
Manning.
has to be one of them.
Peyton Manning's one of them. Yes.
Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think he won 13 for the second team.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson? No, he
I'm
don't.
sorry, team. I thought you said 13 total.
Third. No, he's a one. He's at a 13 winning 13 games, winning 13 games in one season for two franchise. Tom Brady be the other, and then Jared Goff
How
is one
about
of
that?
three
He won
quarterbacks.
13 for the Rams. I didn't remember that good a season out there.
Yep.
But I also saw the stat that he's 0-19 when not having Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. So
Oh, that's not
he
good.
sure is, yeah, he's done it with Detroit, and he's done it with the Rams. So Jared Goff, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady, pretty crazy stuff here. All right, you were talking about your flight home. Thank goodness you were probably screaming on the airplane.
People thought I was
watching that Buffalo game. And I know Kip and I went back and forth a little bit. I'm like, man, I hate to just hammer on Derrick Henry what happened in the NFL game because he was just having such a huge game. His fourth time where he had 100 yards in one quarter. He was running all over that team. I turned it off at the beginning of the fourth quarter just because it was time to go to bed. And I wish I hadn't, obviously, but that was just a great way to put a spin on a wonderful NFL weekend. By the way, favorites 9 and 7 overall, and the unders 12-4 this past weekend. So if you're a person who loves to play the overs in the National Football League, you are scratching your head this weekend. Kip, we'll start right there, man. National Football League, get ready for week number 2.
Well, I just want to say I found myself after having a great dinner with my family and including Case and his two fantastic young folks, my grandchildren, and extended family. It was just kind of a surreal experience to be sitting on a plane about an hour later, getting ready to come back to sleep in my own bed all in the same day. But to have that game on at 35,000 feet right when the second half started, that was the most riveting second half of football I've seen at any level in years. That game was unbelievable. The big plays, the big swings. I can't believe that Buffalo fans, about 25% of the stadium cleared out halfway through the fourth quarter. That has got to be the dumbest decision of all time by those people. And if anybody can identify them, they're going to be chastised till the end of time because Josh Allen, you just don't give up on that guy. He just makes plays all over the place. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were unbelievable. I was sitting there kind of thinking, because I know Kai's been really high all year, all summer on the Ravens going in there and winning that game. And at one point in the fourth quarter, I found myself going, damn, Kai, you nailed this. And then Josh Allen had other plans. That game was just unbelievable to watch. And I know I was having outbursts with my headphones on. I'm sure I was embarrassing my younger son Clayton sitting next to me, and I was going, "Unbelievable! That can't happen." It was riveting. It was great. Who do the Ravens? I have not studied the NFL this week. I get a bad grade for being behind since I was running wild yesterday trying to catch up for being gone for 3 days. Who do the Ravens play, and what is the line? Because I want to bet it all on the Ravens this week.
They're playing. I got 10.5 on this end here. Cleveland and ESPN's got a 10.5.
Give me the Ravens. I don't care if it's 21.5.
Take King away from Derrick Henry's name. I know we were talking about it. Y'all were all like, blah, blah, blah. You can't talk bad about a guy that's 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only damn thing you have to do is hold on to the ball and you win the game. It is no longer King Henry. It might be Queen Henry.
Yeah, and after they had that fumble was so untimely. He had such a great game, and right when that ball was stripped, I said Buffalo's going to win this game. It's in the cards, and the way they won it at the end with the fire drill field goal, which really wasn't necessary. I guess they weren't going to give Lamar Jackson a single second to maybe break their heart, having visions of the Kansas City playoff game a couple of years ago. That game was just indescribably entertaining. It was unbelievable.
Having been around,
I had it poorly, clearly betting Baltimore. So part of my my harshness is the fact that I bet Baltimore. Yes, Buffalo came back and played well.
And I would take Baltimore all day against Cleveland this weekend, just because
if
you're looking at that
Cleveland game, you could get a live line and get plus 2,500. It was 25 to 1 on Buffalo with 4 minutes left. Chase is
Wow.
shaking his head
Uh,
and has something to say, so I'm going to hush.
If you're looking at that Cleveland-Cincinnati game thinking, well, Cleveland's a little bit better than we thought, no. Cincinnati just always plays Cleveland really horribly. They were lucky to get out of there with a win. It's only their second win in the last 23 games in weeks 1 or number 2 in the last 3 years under Zach Thompson. Make sure you go. I think Baltimore, you should give up the 10.5 right off the bat, my friend. I think you should go for it. It's going to be an ugly ball game. The pros, we got this weekend: Chicago, Detroit, Buffalo giving up 6.5, and New York is interesting. Philadelphia giving up 1.5 to Kansas. We're now giving the Kansas City Chefs. We're giving them points at home. What
I
about
mean,
that, guys? Yeah.
they're without their number one receiver, and they were a Super Bowl. They were a 9-8 team masquerading as a Super Bowl team last year. Statistically, I'm pretty down on the Chiefs. Actually, I bet Philadelphia in that game just a little bit, but I can't even think clearly because I'm stewing so bad over this Ravens Bills game. I mean, I was this is I'm usually pretty level headed. This is one time where I wish that I could have just watched and enjoyed the game because I love Baltimore too. I have so many Ravens futures, Super Bowl, best record. They're going to be in such good shape if they win this game. Now the Bills play no one else, and there's just absolutely no way they should have lost that game. My ire though isn't towards Derrick Henry. I'm going to have to retract something I said when you asked her the best coach in the NFL a few months ago, and I said John Harbaugh. To me, this loss is on Harbaugh. Harbaugh is like following the Belichick. This is only a 1-game sample, so I'm overreacting, but I'm emotional because this was a big loss. Belichick had a huge edge in the NFL for many years because he was the most aggressive coach by far. Then he turtled up at the end, and I know he didn't trust his players, he didn't have good teams, but he's punting every time he can. He's kicking. He got totally conservative. That's what John Harbaugh has one of the best offenses in NFL history. They have a 4th and 2 with there's like more than 2 minutes left in the game. They're averaging almost 9 yards per play, and he punts the ball back to Josh Allen. They had 3 timeouts. They could have gone for the 4th and 2. Win the game if you can get 2 yards with one of the best offenses in NFL history. Instead, you give the ball back to Josh Allen. Let them run out the clock for a field goal. Worst case, you get stopped the 4th and 2. You have 3 timeouts. They set up for a field goal, and Lamar Jackson gets the ball back with a minute. I could not believe that decision.
Crazy.
John Harbaugh really let me down. And also another one that no one's talking about. I'm never kicking the people act like NFL extra points are automatic. They're not anymore from 35 yards. You go up 15, I'm going for 2 every time to go up 17. The game is over then. They're not coming back if they go for 2 and score it. Instead, they line up for an extra point. This is what I want to point out to people that are always like, "Oh, just kick it. It's free points." It's not free points. Not every field goal goes in. The kicker doinks it. They're only up 15. They're just so, a coach's responsibility to me is like milking every little percentage of win probability you can get out. And John Harbaugh, to me, really cost them with some of those decisions. The fumble was really bad, but I mean, it's going to happen. I was so let down by Harbaugh, a guy I think so highly of. So, man, that one hurt.
Yeah, and we hadn't talked about Aaron Rodgers. He gets the victory. I actually posted -3 in that line. They ended up winning by 2, but good for him. He looked like the old Aaron Rodgers of old, throwing 4 touchdown passes. I love what he had to say
But
afterwards, too.
let's keep
the
in
Jets
mind they were
organization.
playing the Jets,
They were.
who do have a good defense, but it's going to be another great football year if you're a New York football fan.
I'm scared for Pittsburgh giving up that many points to the Jets, to be honest with you. I mean, this is one thing you can always hang your hat on is a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. You can always hang their hat on giving up 20 or less. And, man, they got bludgeoned pretty good.
Yeah, the Steelers did not win the game in classic Steelers fashion with defense and grind out a 17-16 win, a 34-32 shootout with the Jets. I don't know how that bodes well for the rest of their season.
When he said, this was for the Jets organization, for those people that thought that I still couldn't play football, I'd like to just let you know I can still throw. I can still throw 4 touchdowns, and he certainly did. I kind of feel like the Jets got what they asked for, and that's what they got. I'm not saying he's going to be the MVP this year, but I think I feel a little bit better about Pittsburgh Steelers in that division now with Aaron Rodgers. Any other games kicking out real quick, and then we'll hit the Major League Baseball. By the way, if you love the show, we hope you do. Friday mornings, 10 o'clock Central. We get through it. We really get after it on Friday mornings. We'll have time to really break down a lot of stuff we've had all week to look at all the lines, all the over-unders. We get into it, both college and pro. We'll have all our plays coming up on Friday. K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. You can go to our website and have it all written down if you can't listen to the entire show. But any other NFL games? Huh?
Yeah, Thursday night. Washington at Green Bay. Over under 48, and Green Bay's 3.5-point favorite. I'm hitching my wagon to Jaden Daniels. I like Green Bay and all, as far as the team and everything, but I'll take the 3.5. and I'd probably go over in that game. It's Thursday night. It'll be before we're back on. So just wanted to bring that up. I think it's going to be a great game either way. I do not think either team will blow either team out. So I'll take the 3.5 even on the road.
We also have a pair of games coming up. We have one on Sunday night. We got the Monday night game. So we got, it's going to be a full slate of games this week. It's going to be great because we're going to have both great college and professional games going this weekend. Kip, anything else you want to get in the National Football League before we do some MLB?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Kai on that. I think the Packers had a key opener against the Lions, and they just played spectacularly. Coming right back on Thursday night off that, I just don't see the high level. They have to get up for the Commanders, of course, a playoff team that actually beat Detroit, knocked them out last year. But I think the Reds, I keep calling them the Redskins. That's old habits die hard, folks. The Commanders, I think they're in a little bit better mental place going on the road. They played the Giants in a blah opener. I think this is the first big matchup they've had. So I expect them to come and play a really good game in Green Bay. And I like getting that extra half point. I like the 3.5 and the Commanders in that game. I'm going to agree with Kai there.
Good way to kick off your Thursday night. And again, we'll be back on again on Friday. Of course, you can hear our show right here on the Tony Kurre Radio Sports Network, as well as the digital sports network of Coastal as well. All right, Major League Baseball, because it's still going on. And obviously during football season, this will be a small little stint, but we still have some people that want to play some Major League Baseball games, and that's fine. We love that. The season's coming down to an end right now, and we're looking at some of the Major League standings. Of course, we have the Blue Jays, the Tigers, the Astros, the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Dodgers still leading their divisions. Nothing else really changed. I know the Rangers had a nice little run there. And which, Kai, you're a baseball guy. What are you looking at?
One thing, and I haven't seen the odds here. I want to know, Kip can probably pull it up real quick. I mean, Case can. American League East odds to win, what the Yankees are, because the Yankees have the easiest schedule in baseball remaining with their next 6 after Boston and Detroit. Then they play Minnesota, Baltimore twice, home and home, and then the White Sox, whereas Boston has New York, the A's, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Detroit. Toronto has higher. So if you could get an odds to win the AL East right now, I would hammer the Yankees if you get good odds right now.
How many are they back?
2.
Okay, I knew they're right in it. So yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. Of course, these you mentioned that they have. Did you say Boston and Detroit next? That's a little bit of a rough start patch.
Yeah, but then it's nothing.
It's pretty bad. Although Baltimore's more competitive now than they were in the first half, so those aren't necessarily walkovers. But yeah, I agree. If they're only a couple games back, I don't know what kind of odds you can get, but certainly that's a team that you would think would make a big run at the division.
And the White Sox. Go ahead.
I just looked up the odds instead. They're about 2-1, which I'd agree with you. I'd have to lean that way. I always thought the Red Sox were going to catch these teams, but God, the Roman Anthony injuries in particular.
That's brutal.
I've always bet against the Blue Jays, so maybe I'm underestimating them, although I am on them today. It's the last bet I made before I came on the show, as I laid some minus 143 with the Blue Jays, with Bieber, I think, make the second start with the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
And hey, guess who's tied for the last 10 games, tied for the best record in baseball? Y'all might get the rest, but just the last 10 games. But one of only 2 teams eliminated from the playoffs, the Chicago White Sox.
Oh,
7-3.
And Case's over bet is a winner chicken dinner this year. Let's make that
my biggest win total, the White Sox.
Hey, I appreciate it because I played it.
Nice. All right, great stuff, guys.
Yeah, they got it with weeks to spare. Yeah.
K4Wins.com. Yeah, you still got 18, 19 ball games left. That's nice. It's like winning a halftime bet before even halftime. I love that. K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com, K4 Winners on X, and of course wherever you get your podcast, you can find us on our YouTube channel as well. Tony Kurre Radio, get the TKR app, and we are good to go. We're going to get back after on Friday. I have a feeling we are going to be loaded with all kinds of great plays. I am looking at the Temple Owls winning outright against the Oklahoma Sooners.
My goodness.
I bet Temple plus 25, actually, but I can't get with the outright.
I am falling in love with this guy named Jay Ducker, who's their running back, and Evan Simons, who's thrown 9 touchdowns and 0 picks. They have not played anybody yet. They played Howard but neither is Oklahoma. I like Temple to get not only inside that number, but I could see like a 24-23 late game. I mean, it's going to be worth it just to play the money line for a few dollars. It'll pay back handsomely. Thank you very much. I'll have more details and more reasons on Friday's 10 o'clock show right here on K4Wins. Thank you, gentlemen.
KC Keeler, watch out. I love their new coach. 2 more primetime underdogs. I like the Falcons and the Raiders this week to go with the Commanders. There you go.
All right.
Falcons, Raiders, and Commanders. You got it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you, man.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.